Good evening. Laura Huang, Singapore Council of Women's Organizations. Thank you for being with us to talk about defense, social defense tonight. I thought that I would give some observations of the recent visit of the Swiss president, who happens to be a dynamic young woman. And it was then that I realized that Switzerland actually has a higher birth rate than Singapore, despite the fact that here we have all the benefits of extended family support, maids that we can rely on to do a lot of the household and child-rearing duties. And I think that at the end of it all, it came down in my own mind to the fact that in Singapore, somehow having children is seen by younger families as being a very stressful condition, which I do not agree with, but they actually think that having children adds stress to their lives. I actually spoke to some of the young ladies that I think we would be familiar with in the YWLC, and it seemed that the attitude was one of not fearfulness, but while they wanted to have children ultimately in their big picture, sort of 10 years down the road, it seemed rather scary. And I think that if we want to really look at our birth rate situation, I think we have to take away the idea or the concept that having children is something that is going to stress you out for the rest of your life. Sure, there are moments of stress, and every mother here in this room will attest to that. But if you ask any mother in this room whether she would have gone through that stress and not have children, would still have the children if she had a choice, and she'd say yes. So I think the message to the younger ones is be courageous about it, be hopeful, and have the time of your lives with your kids. Thank you.
Yeah, I fully endorse that.
The other point that I thought of when I was looking at the Swiss situation was that actually the fathers play a great role in determining whether or not there are any or more children in the family. And apart from just putting the onus on the women to say, yeah, we want to have more kids, we must have more, I think you must also address the fathers. Because knowing what nice people, feminine gender, the feminine gender, how we always try to keep the family happy. I think that if the males were to be more proactive in wanting to have larger families or some children, I think that would make a great difference in the female mentality too. Of course, that has to come with the promises of additional help and additional involvement in childcare and child rearing. And I think that would do a great deal to give women the incentives to want to have families and to enjoy them.
Laura, if I could just ask you, because you travel a lot and work in many countries before, do you think this is something unique to Singapore, or it's really a feature of all modern cities, very cosmopolitan and growing very quickly?
I certainly don't see that it is something that's uniquely Singapore. So Tourism Board can't take that as uniquely Singapore. But I think in different degrees, Singapore has laid greater stress on especially mothers. Education, I think, has a different face in Singapore than education in the UK. I know that because my son was in school in the UK. And none of the mothers that I was in close contact with had the same attitude towards supervision of homework, supervision of friends, and the sort of almost day-to-day, hourly, minute-by-minute programming of their children's lives. They really didn't see it as their responsibility. And they didn't see that, they had to pay very high fees for their children to go to school, and yet be tutors to their children. It was like, school, you take care of that, and I will take care of the emotional care of my child, the social care. So it was a very different attitude. And I think that really puts a lot more responsibility on the Singaporean parent, who feels that they've got to do all that as well as leave it to the schools. So that is one big difference that I see. I think that the effect on our children is twofold. In some ways, our children stay closer to us for longer because we are there beside them all the time. But on the other hand, the other way creates children who are much more independent, free-spirited, free-thinking. So I think we have to think carefully about what you want to encourage, or to what degree you encourage each thing. Maybe the other point that I would bring up is that when I was speaking to the young ladies in the group, I realized that a lot of them use the word stress. And I look back at myself at their age, and I did not really know the word stress. I was busy, I was tired. But that's sometimes that's positive. You're tired because you're doing something, yeah? You're busy, you're producing something. But now, whenever you feel, you say, I'm very stressed. And that to me is a mindset difference which, I see, at least I've got some disagreement from the gentlemen in this room. But ladies, do you have any sympathy with this view? That, we used to think ourselves as busy or tired, but now everybody says stress, and that to me is a far more negative state to be in. So we should try and see what we can do to get out of that stress state that stresses us more. Thank you.
When I feel stressed, I'll remember what you said. Well, I completely agree with the sentiments that Laura has expressed. I had a dialogue the other day, last Saturday, and I said that there are really two ways you can two philosophies you can take to bringing up kids, and one is that the world is a tough place, and you protect your kids for as long as possible. So you monitor them, you do everything you can do to keep them safe for as long as possible. And the other philosophy is that the world is a tough place, and the sooner they find out, the better. So I met one parent who was with their little child, and there was this very hot bulb, so by the side of a display. So the child was about to touch the thing, so I was going to reach out and stop the child. I said, no, let him go do it. He'll soon find out, then he won't do it again. So it was a different attitude to bring up kids. So that seemed to me to be a less stressed parent.
I'm from Sharon, from Financial Women Association. Maybe I can share my perspective. I agree with Laura from a young parent point of view, because I started my family when I was 29. My son is now 2 years old. I want to share a few things of friends, my peers, more of my generation. I would say that I was among the first few that started the family, and most of my peers now are still either not married or they are attached, but they decide to delay starting a family. Basically, I agree with DPM that it's about individual expectations and individual development, because women these days, my generation, or my friends, my peers around, what I see is that they become more worldly. Their expectations of themselves have sort of increased, and how it was like my mom days and the later generation, I would say the earlier generation is different. They feel that bringing up a kid is very expensive. Actually, it's not that expensive. That now I've been through it. It's all about management and expectations of yourself. So they feel that bring out a kid, there is medical, and then there is education. They want to give the children the best of what they have, or even higher expectation of what they have become themselves. And women these days, I would say there is a competition among this generation because they want to achieve a lot. So it's not just about family anymore, but it's more about social work. They want to do outside their work. They want to have holidays.
they want to have a good job in a bank. And I would say that in my finance industry, in my bank at least, I would say there's not many colleagues my age who have kids. Most of them, yes, they are married, but they choose to delay having a kid, because having a kid means they will travel less. To them means make lesser money. So they rather establish their career now, increase their financial ability now while they still have time. But by the time when they decide to start having a kid, it may be sort of too late, which some of my colleagues share with me, the older colleagues. So I would say it's because of the expectations that my generation now, my friends, they have of themselves. Because women now, this age has become too worldly compared to our mother's age. Because when you are so worldly, you think too much, so you hold back to have a kid. So this is, I would just want to share how it is like my generation now on what has become. Because it's been increasingly difficult. I have a friend who lives in London. My sister-in-law lives in London as well, so we have extended family in London. Finance women living in London, they are able to work part-time. They can actually work from home 3 times a week, and however, it's very difficult for women working in banking sector in Singapore to work from home. You seldom hear women working in banking sector that they can actually work part-time, because it's still sort of, there is a stigma to working part-time for women working in the bank. So it's sort of still taken as a full-time job. So, and I would say most employers, especially in finance, they still take on people more of the full-time. And so it's still, I would say, the employer's mindset still needs to be changed to move towards...
Even if it's the same employer in London and in Singapore, same sort of company.
Yes, actually, I mean, my close friend actually worked for Standard Chartered Bank in London, and she actually worked 3 times a week from home, but she's still being paid a full-time pay, you see. So I think, and however, in Singapore, it's the same, it's a different company. I'm not sure about Singapore Standard Chartered, but it's a common ground, kind of similar A-rated kind of bank. It's what I understand from my friends and family members is that it seems that working in a bank, it's harder to get a part-time job here, or working 3 times a week from home, which they find it very tough. So they hold back when they want to decide to, okay, I want to have a kid, but it's difficult. So I have to quit my job completely, and then that means less financial ability. So all the financial support will have to come from the husband. So this is the mindset that most people are having nowadays. So it's sort of like, I will also agree with what you mentioned previously. It's all about individual development and your own expectations. So if you choose to take a 3 to 4 year break, they believe that they will lose out. You see, so this is, I think there needs to be a change in mindset also in our generation, because actually it's not that expensive to have a kid. Yeah.
If you could, would you prefer to have been born in your mother's generation? No, where there's less stress, less emphasis on material sort of.
I guess sometimes, I think there's a pros and cons. When sometimes they say the lesser you know, the more brave, or you will be more daring to go and do it because you don't know too much. But now, because you know too much, you have more expectation of yourself because you've seen more. See, so I guess there is the pros and cons, but now facility is better, education is better. What I can give to my son now, I can bring him to Montessori, Lorna Whiston. I mean, then my parents' time, there is no such thing. So I guess it's a sort of a give and take. I mean, been through it and having a 2-year-old son. So, but still, I would say that it's increasingly, my generation, more and more people are more skeptical and afraid to have a kid because of that reason.
Sorry, because of which reason?
Like taking time off from work and expectations of themselves, and not being able to work part-time. Yeah.
Sorry, just one
Yes.
question for me. Do you really find the need to have to stop work? Do you stop work after having a child?
No, actually, I'm still working, but I used to travel every 2 weeks. I'm supposed to travel, like Hong Kong, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, as a part of my job, as my role. But now I have cut down in terms of traveling to once a month. Of course, in terms of expectations, I would want to spend more time with my son. So I definitely, in terms of traveling, I would have to make the adjustment as well. But because I have a kid, and I mean, I love my son very much. So I mean, this kind of thing. I mean, once you have a kid, you have to make the adjustment. But before you have a kid, you're unwilling to do it because you just don't want to take the chance. So we had this conversation many times with groups of friends, well-educated, university-educated group of friends. So a lot of them are facing this problem. They want to have a kid, but they just say, I still have another 5-6 years to go. I mean, I can just take my time, And then if it doesn't work, I can afford IVF. So this is the mentality that people have these days. And they are friends I meet now and then, I mean, close friends, and this is the mentality people have. So, this is their mentality, so they will procrastinate in terms of that. See? Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Very, 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 very useful perspective. Thanks for your candor.